Welcome to another episode of the All Turtles podcast, a show about entrepreneurship and AI. I'm John Cifuentes, co-founder at All Turtles. Today, Phil Libin and I conduct part 2 of an interview with the inimitable Jason Calacanis. Jason is an entrepreneur and investor whose investments include Uber, Thumbtack, DataStax, Robinhood, Wealthfront, and a wealth of other great companies. And in this episode, he makes a big announcement about future plans.
But on the topic of brand, once a company's been around for a while, for established companies, like your brand is your reputation, right? That's kind of what it is. Like your brand is your reputation. So if you're United Airlines, your brand is like you're the airline that's, going to kill someone's pet and like get them stuck. That's the brand. And it doesn't matter like what their logo is. It doesn't matter if they change their fonts or colors. Jingle. Yeah, the jingle. Like their brand, they've earned that brand. If you are American Express, like your brand is your a credit card company that has pretty good customer support for people who can afford to have, that card.
Yeah,
like
fancy.
they've kind of earned it. And once you've kind of earned a brand, it's very hard to change it. You could change it, but it's kind of tough. And so for a startup, your brand is kind of your first step. It's almost like a projection. It's like, what do you want your reputation to be? It's the first down payment to what you hope your reputation will be in the future. And so you start talking about yourself in a way that you hope we will actually grow into and be genuine and will be the reputation that you have. And so the core part of that is, I think, as you said, is authenticity.
Yeah.
So if you can say something authentically about how you want your reputation to develop, why you're doing something, how you're doing something, then it could be a good part of paying down that brand. But then if you do that and screw it up, your brand is going to be whatever your reputation happens to be. Like Uber is finding that out right now. Like Uber is having a difficult time completely changing their brand because there is a reputation there.
Yeah. It has bounced back to where people aren't spending the entire day trashing it.
Yeah. But it didn't do that by changing the jingle. It did that by trying to actually fundamentally change the reputation.
Yeah. And maybe hire a diverse group of people and change management and do all this stuff. That actually is very significant heavy lifting. So, intentionality is super important and people pick up on that. Like consumers are super sophisticated now. I was just realizing when I was growing up, the idea of espresso or cappuccino was you had to have that defined for you. And now a truck driver stopping at the most abandoned truck stop in the middle of America is I'll take a misto with soy and they're probably getting it, it's probably available. And so consumers are super sophisticated. And I think the leadership has to really be considered about what do you want it to be. So I like what you said, Phil, about projecting out. And I've been doing this with my team just in terms of investing because it went from being just me, being an angel investor, to having 15 people. We did 55 investments this year. We'll do 100 next year. So it's become a big organization, even though people don't exactly know that.
Sure. But
I've started working with my team to say, you know what? Every time somebody joins the syndicate, I want to do an onboarding call with them. They're like, well, we don't have to. I'm like, no, we don't. But I want to. And then I had my team and I realized I bring my startup companies to some top venture firms to meet or we'll have events. And I just had the entire management team put on suits and show up and introduce them to some of our LPs. And the LPs were like, oh, wow, you have an incredible team. But I used to the team didn't want to come out with me. They just wanted to put their heads down and work. And I was like, okay, we're all going to suit up. We're all going to show up for this meeting. I'm going to introduce everybody so they understand the scale of the company. Then I had a bunch of people over for a barbecue. So I put the managing directors at the front door of the house and I had them, I created a lookbook, we call it the yearbook, but it's basically the Facebook of everybody coming to the party. When people are coming to the party, they say, oh, Phil Libin, great to meet you. I'm a big fan of Evernote. Jason's inside. Let me walk you in. So they say your full name before you come in there. And I just read Michael Ovitz's book, which is incredible. Who is Michael Ovitz? Highly recommend it. And he had this crazy intentionality of how he would run CAA down to the cars they drove, the suits they wore, the IMPay building. There's just a million stories like that. And that kind of intentionality. So when we have meetings with founders, we book them for an hour because we know these other VCs are booking them for 45 minutes or half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
When I start a meeting, they're always feeling like, oh my God, Jake, how's so busy? I don't want to waste his time, whatever. I walk in, I have my moleskin, I take my phone, I go, I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode. I'm going to set a timer for 45 minutes. Why don't you just tell me everything? And then maybe I'll have 15 minutes at the end to ask you some questions. And then I turn my phone over and I look at them. So what are you working on?
And you're just doing that just to freak them out even more because you're a terrible person.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I'm doing it because I want them to know that I respect what they're doing. They have my complete undivided attention and that I'm going to take the time to make them feel heard. Because I found out that Y Combinator was giving people like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all the people who didn't get into Y Combinator who got 10-minute interviews were like, yeah, it was so weird. They asked me 4 minutes in question. I barely was able to speak. And I didn't feel heard. So I was like, let me do the opposite.
So we should do an eye roll please about this. We have a segment of the podcast called Eye Roll Please where we just talk about received wisdom, which is mostly bullshit.
Yeah.
And one of them is this whole idea of the elevator pitch. Like, an elevator pitch is a horrible fucking idea. You shouldn't be pitching anyone anything in an elevator or in 60 seconds
you
when
should
you
be
have them.
standing quietly.
Yeah, you should
and
be standing
awkwardly.
there quietly.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, the a lot of the stuff that we tell entrepreneurs just doesn't make any sense.
That
it's
one doesn't.
optimized for the entertainment of the investors.
Yeah.
Including things like an elevator pitch. Like, honestly, like, I don't care how good you are. And I judged a startup competition yesterday where everyone had like a few minutes. And like even I fall into that trap where like I'm coaching people on how to like deliver their pitch in 2 minutes. Whereas what I should have been saying is like, it doesn't matter. You don't need to deliver your pitch in 2 minutes. Like, deliver it. In fact, you don't need to pitch. Stop pitching. Like, find a way to explain exactly what you do in a way that's going to make me really, really care in 20 minutes. And like, that's a useful life skill.
What I do at my founders is I tell them in our accelerator, and when I have investors come, I say, we're going to have them all present in a row. They're going to take 3 minutes. What you're seeing is the trailer of the startup. It is not meant to be the entire movie.
Can you do the inner world voice?
Exactly. In a world where, anyway, enterprise computing. So they, the greatest sales automation enterprise software company. They don't have to tell us what's missing from the trailer because we know the rest of the movie is missing.
Right.
The important point about the trailer is if you like the trailer, take the meeting and then unpack it in an hour or 20 minutes or whatever you happen to have. But yeah, that's definitely one of those things that's, when you see somebody who's a notable investor and you're like running with them to the urinal and pitching them.
Yeah, there is no good urinal pitch. There's no good elevator pitch, and there's no good urinal pitch.
Don't I know it? Like literally, like 2 weeks ago, somebody was behind me, and I'm urinating, and they're literally pitching me.
We call that the earthquake test.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is super odd that you're pitching me while I'm urinating, but go for it if you think it's a good idea. And they were like, is it a good idea? I was like,
no,
it's not a good idea.
I was like, I don't know if it's a good idea because
use context clues.
So I got finished and then I went outside and let them pitch me, but it was pretty funny. I enjoy being recognized or, being micro famous, so I don't mind it, but I have friends who are super famous and like, it's intense. Like people have this weird idea that if they talk to somebody who's successful, they're going to be successful. That's not actually how it works. Like it works back to what we said earlier, which is make a product that people love
and want to
buy or use. And then maybe the next person, maybe they tell a friend and you have two people, like keep working on that.
Right.
Make the chart go up and to the right.
I feel like there's a Medium post somewhere waiting to be written called the urinal pitch that kind of ties together everything that's wrong with Silicon Valley in terms of gender and inclusion and nonsense advice and kind of
it's
like
definitely got some of that.
Every topic rolled into one.
Yeah.
Someone should write that as a Medium post.
Yes.
And then I'll clap for it. I'll hold down that clap button for a solid 3 seconds.
Right.
Wait, you can hold the button down?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you get multiple
What?
claps. I know.
What? I had no idea.
Mind
Look at
blown.
that, huh? That's that incredible Medium design.
I think they call that the clap.
The clap.
Jason, you used this word global a few times as you're kind of expanding on
Global,
the brand.
huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the availability of content and kind of all this stuff is out there for people to make things more easily and get access to this information. What are the areas, so you're from New York yourself, what are the areas outside of Silicon Valley that you're interested in or excited by or you spend time in? I noticed launches in Australia.
Sydney, yeah.
Like, why? What's
Great
going
question.
on?
Yeah, so we have a couple of internal codas, creeds, guiding principles. One of them is a great founder can come from anywhere. And in fact, they often come from a place other than the place we're sitting right now, the Bay Area. If you just look at all the great founders here, they're all immigrants. And to this city. They might be from America, but they immigrated to the Bay Area. So we believe a great founder can be from anywhere. We do believe founders who come here will have the velocity of the funding cycles and the valuations and the knowledge really help their companies. Now, there is a point where it breaks, and it's very expensive here. So, having a satellite office with developers in Toronto, Vancouver, Austin, wherever you can find 100 developers or 10, totally get it. But to be a great angel investor, you really need to, or investor, you need to be here in the Bay Area. And then there's a couple of other locations, China, Stockholm, that have had massive number of unicorns. New York has had, a handful.
Sure.
LA, a couple. But the founders can come from anywhere. And then what I see typically happen is if somebody's not from here, the VCs are like, they turn their nose up at them. Then I bring them here, they go through our accelerator, and then the VCs throw money at them because they've decided to come here and camp out for 12 weeks, which means they're pretty serious about it. They have us as an investor. So we did Launch Festival in Sydney because I was tired of dealing with the unions and the getting harangued here in San Francisco. It was like actually the festival, which we did for 10 years, was actually becoming arduous and painful for me.
Right.
And I had multiple cities around the world who were like, will you bring it to our city? And so Sydney and Melbourne competed pretty heavily in that. And we did a 2-year deal with Sydney to bring it there. We went, we had 8 or 9 companies we thought were fundable. We invited a handful of them to come. We did diligence on all of them. We invited 4 of them to come to our accelerator. 3 of them took the offer. So those companies are doing really well. And then I went to Miami to a speaking gig. Same thing. We found 4 companies in Miami and Orlando that were real companies. They typically have half the valuation of the companies here. They have half the entitlement. They spend half the amount of money to get the same result. And the employees in their cities don't jump jobs every 9 to 18 months. They stay with the company for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so this is a huge advantage. Forget about saving money on the margins. All things being equal, if a person stays with the company for 4 or 5 years and they're good, the great stuff is happening in year 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
That's where the magic happens. When you have a team that's worked together for 3 or 4 years, all of a sudden, man, it's cranking. And really great features, great, product cadence, et cetera.
Yeah, I've definitely found that the emphasis on like lower cost salaries in other places to be the wrong emphasis. It's really about like, can you get high quality people and can you get them to stick around for a long time? And
big one.
The marginal salaries just don't matter that much for our business.
If it works, it doesn't matter, right? So when you have a business that is cranking and is profitable, if you pay a developer 100 or 200 and anywhere in between, it's probably not making a difference, correct? When you're in that first year, it can make a big difference, right? 2 different developers versus 3 could be a big difference. But we have an office now in Toronto because we couldn't find any growth people, any video editors, et cetera. And I happened to find one all-star there who was out of school. He hired 2 people. We'll probably have... Yeah, we have a 4th coming. So of our 15 people, 4 are in Toronto, and it's working out beautifully for us. And we can be we can offer the highest salary in Toronto, which we would never be able to do here.
Right.
So that's also kind of a cool thing when you're like going into Arizona and you're Yelp, or I've had other companies like build their sales team or customer support team in Utah or Salt Lake City. All of a sudden, you're the highest paid employer in Salt Lake, and you get the best people. And you've got to line up the door just because you paid 50 instead of a 40K base for a customer support job, or 40 instead of 30, whatever it is.
Qualtrics is a good example of that.
Yeah, where were they?
In Utah.
They were in Utah, yeah. So Utah comes up. I had one team that did the most brilliant thing, Phil. They were looking for where to open their sales office. Mm-hmm. So the management team put out a series of ads for hiring in 4 different cities. Then the management team spent 3 days in each city, so like 2 cities a week for 2 weeks. And they did interviews of those top, 50 recruits. So they do 50 recruits in Salt Lake, 50 in Arizona, 50 in Boulder, whatever. And they found a city. I won't say which company it is or which city. Because
you're talking about Amazon.
Yes, I know. Yeah. They found Virginia and Long Island City.
Yeah.
Well played, Phil. We can talk about that in a minute. But they found a city that, nobody had tapped into yet. And they were like, these people are incredible. They have graduate degrees and they're really excited to come work for us. And look at this incredible warehouse that we could have for, what we spent 1 month in New York on our office space, where it's twice the size and twice as cool for the year. And just, huge win. So I really love that lean startup approach. Like instead of opening 4 satellite offices, see where they go, just what's the least amount of work you can do to answer the question. It's one of the brilliant aspects of lean startup. Not everything works in lean startup, but that's one that really works.
So we're coming up on a long interview here. Thanks. Shout out to Jim for cutting this down. Jim's our audio engineer.
Make it a two-parter, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows it'd be the greatest ratings ever.
Probably will be.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So, Jason, just the nature of the way you guys do things and being so active in so many channels, having so many conversations,
yep.
this superpower of yours, the vigor.
Yep. Indefatigable nature.
Good word.
It's a good word.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that word 2 more times today.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Larissa McFark used it to describe me in The New Yorker. Yeah. Indefatigable.
Indefatigable.
I was like, how dare you say that? Then I took out a dictionary. I was like, thank you.
So how do you determine that a thing, a project, is worth being worked on? Do you have some sort of decision criteria
for
there?
Me or for an investment I'm making? I'm curious which one you mean.
An investment that you're making.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, it's a totally different criteria now because I'm at a different part of my life. But for an investment, I'm very much into investing in people in the arc of a founder's career. So I now have a number of founders I've invested in 2 times. And I'm coming on to the point where they would be investing a 3rd time in some founders. Because I figure if you think this person is super talented and motivated, and you've already got to know them, Raul from Reportive, I invested in because I thought, wow, I'm using this Reportive toolbar every day. Who makes this thing? So when I first got my little stack of cash to do angel investing, I just emailed info@Reportive and info@Backupify. I found these 2 tools that I just thought were really cool. And I said, "Do you ever think about raising money? I'm an angel investor in America." And they both wrote back like, "Oh, listen to your podcast." And I was like, "Great." And then I put like 25 or 50K into each. Reportive sold to LinkedIn. We got 4 or 5 times our money back. It was nice to, make a hundy, but not meaningful. But I told the founder, Raul, if you come up with another idea, I'm fine with this short sale, like tripling our money, whatever. It's kind of death as an angel investor, because if anybody's willing to pay 3 or 4 times what you paid, it probably could have added a 0 if they kept going, right? So he just called me one Sunday and he's like, "I got my idea." I was like, "Great, come over." He came over the same day. We had brunch. I put $1 million into Superhuman, this email client that he had. He's like, "I want to take on Gmail." I'm like, "How are you going to take on Gmail?" He's like, "I'm going to charge $35 a month." I was like, "So you're going to charge people for what's free from Google?" And I'm like, "And how are you going to beat Google?" He's like, "It's going to be faster." I was like, "Okay, so Google, which are the fastest maniacal cloud engineers in the world, who have the biggest footprint, you're going to take them on and beat them."
Hey, their head of cloud
by
just left.
charging the same customers. He said, "Yep." I said, "I'm in." That's my type of crazy, right? So in terms of evaluating that, I'm looking for somebody who's got a bold idea, and taking on Gmail, that seems like a great idea to me. Like, this thing's been crufty and 15 years in the making. Let's do it. So I gave him $1 million. Let's go. That's how I like a founder who's going after a big idea. And I base it all on the founder and their motivation. I try not to understand the ideas too much. I mean, I don't have a problem understanding the idea.
Are you succeeding at that? Do you feel like you're like
I'm getting better at it.
Appropriately ignorant about the ideas?
I'm getting there because when I heard the idea for Airbnb or, Twitter, I just thought, these are stupid ideas.
Yeah.
This is dumb. Like, you're going to stay on somebody's couch. You're going to stay on a serial killer's couch. Oh, wow. It's a great idea to build a business around people being murdered.
Yeah, stranger cars.
Or Twitter. I was like, Ev, you made a blog post, then you took away the blog and you left the headline. If Twitter succeeds, it's going to be a cacophony of morons.
Well.
And yeah. But it's a $50 million mistake for me.
Right.
Sincerely, $50 million lost. So.
Why do they call them angel investors?
Good question.
What is, seriously, you don't, in the, popular culture, you don't do deals with angels, right? You do deals with
the
devils.
devil, yeah.
In all the language. Like a syndicate. What is an angel syndicate? Angels don't hang out in syndicates. You've got all this demonology and crime things, and yet you guys are angel investors.
Right.
Yeah. There's a rebranding opportunity here for you, Jason. There's some authenticity that you can pick up.
Interestingly, I just got the domain name thesyndicate.com.
There you go.
Because I like it so much. But, I was growing up, I was kind of had 2 paths. I was either going to be Lex Luthor or what I am now. Luckily, I went this way, but I really had a great criminal mind. Super criminal mind. Most founders I know have really great criminal, potential, and thank God they didn't take it.
Sure, clever and evil are not, too far off one another.
No. My first business was called Jason's Hot Tapes. Because my dad, the statute of limitations up so I can tell the story. My dad, some guy owed him $2,000 playing backgammon. My dad had a bar in Brooklyn. And this guy was $2K in the hole, and he couldn't pay the VIG, like, just the interest every week. But he said, hey, your son likes the Star Wars thing, right? And you got that VHS that we got last week. The guy came because some VHSs fell off a truck.
Right, bada bing.
So literally, when I was in my father's bar, people would come in and be like, I got 6 VCRs. Who wants them? 100 each? And we'd buy 2.
Uh-huh.
They fell off a truck at JFK. Anyway.
The roads were bad back then.
Exactly.
There's a lot of potholes.
A lot of potholes. On the FDR. Yeah. So anyway, my dad got the VHS like a month. Then the next month, because there were no video stores in this time, these guys, these maniacs up in Bensonhurst, recorded The Empire Strikes Back in a theater on their VHS. They put 10 in the back of the theater, and they did cams for the first time. So they gave my dad one of the tapes. So then I made copies of it, and I sold it in junior high school for $20 a pop. I sold about 40 of them. So I'm just rolling in cash. And then the teacher goes up to me and is like, are you selling The Empire Strikes Back on tape? And I said,
yeah, what
yes.
Are you, the FBI or something?
And he said, how much? And I said, well, I'm charging everybody 20, but I'll give it to you for 10. He's like, okay.
Not for an A?
No, it was a random teacher busted me. Then I sold him a copy.
I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations is not up because now you're messing with Disney Corporation.
I know. I'm sorry, Bob Iger.
Yeah, those guys have no statute of limitations, right? They made copyrights last forever.
They do.
They can come after you for pirating The Empire Strikes Back.
The previous was a fictional story I told for your entertainment purposes.
Education.
The content on this podcast is fictionalized.
So it's late fall, which means it's prediction season. Yeah, we're all excited about predictions for 2019. Or
sure.
Maybe a better framing is what are you excited by in terms of what you're doing in deploying capital as an angel investor, or finding new ideas to work on, or what's next for launch? What's new for 2019? What are you most excited by?
Well, personally, or like in the industry?
How about both?
Okay. So in the industry, it's nice to see that the stock market cooled off and valuations kind of leveled off a bit, because it feels like the influx of noise and people, like too many people wanting to try this has gone down a little bit. And I'm super excited just about our position in the ecosystem. We have so many people applying to the Launch Accelerator that we're able to pick people who have products that are launched already in some traction where we can really help them. And our syndicate, jasonsyndicate.com, has got 2,800 members, so it's the largest in the world now. And we've done a couple of deals this year where we did between $1 million and $2 million. So we're really like seed investors turning into Series A, but acting really fast like that way. For me personally, I set a goal of investing in 100 companies for each of the next 4 years. That'll give me 400 more swings at bat on top of the 200 I've had. That should, if I hit the, just one unicorn out of 100, and I've been hitting one every 25, if I hit anywhere in that range, I'll be the greatest angel investor of all time. What happens to most angel investors, they get to where Chris Sacca was or Ron Conway and they quit. They stop investing because what's the point? So I want to do that. And then I have a domain name, mayorjason.com.
Okay.
That's right. You're going to be running for mayor, right?
I have a domain name.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, I think there's a mayoral race. I'm not sure if it's 4 or 5 years from now, but I have a domain name.
Scorching.
And there are 3 big problems in this city. Major ones.
What are they?
Yeah. Expound.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can think of.
Give me your top. Give me your top 3.
Well, today it's the smog.
Yeah, long-term problems in the city.
Visible despair.
Okay, yeah. Poverty and homeless. You probably don't want to say homeless because you would sound like a little bit cruel, but homelessness is what you're talking about, right?
No, I've participated in the city's homeless census, which means
7,000 people. Yeah,
a bunch of volunteers drive around. This is ridiculous. We drive around and we point at people that look like they could be homeless, and we tally it.
You did that,
yeah.
Okay, because I've read this survey that you did.
That's what it.
6,500 people for people who don't know,
right? And
over 40% suffering from mental illness. Over 50% are substance abuse, and then some combination are both,
right?
Self-medicating and mental illness. And so we have to ask ourselves why. So homelessness and despair is number one for most people.
San Francisco is maybe the worst run city, like
in America,
most of the first or second world.
It is.
It's just an incompetently run city. Everything is broken. There's no public transportation. There's no decent housing. All of the zoning is weird.
He just got the other 2.
Like everything is broken here.
So homelessness, transportation, crime,
And you're going to solve,
housing.
and as mayor, you're going to solve these problems by moving out of San Francisco.
No.
Oh.
I have solutions.
That was my idea.
I have solutions to those 4. And I've been working on it, I've been researching it. And I'm about 20% of the way to running.
Are you going to make me pick between you and Kara Swisher?
Kara Swisher and I are going to run against each other. We're very close friends, but I think it will wind up being me, Kara Swisher, and Benioff in the same election. If I would think 2 out of 3 of us will probably pull the trigger on it.
That'd be such a fun battle royale.
It's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Okay. The ratings are going to be huge. Giant. Tremendous. Okay.
Well, you heard it here. I was going to say first, but no, you've probably talked about it.
Well, no, I just tweet Mayor Jason, and it was basically like a funny trolling kind of thing, because what happened was, the backstory is I was at my poker game, and somebody's like, oh my God, I can't believe Trump win. And, we're sitting there playing cards, and everybody's like, this is the end of the world. Like, what next? Jake Al becomes mayor? And somebody very high profile at the table says, actually, I would back you. I'll give you $1 million. It's like a very high profile person in the industry. And then 2 other people at the table said, I'll put up 500. I'll put up 500. So literally all of a sudden, 3 people put up $2 million for my campaign. And I was like, well, that's viable. So I just go on my phone and I register mayorjason.com and I direct it to Twitter. And we just start this funny trolling exercise. And now it's actually turned out that I am overqualified, clearly, compared to Trump. So because the standard has been lowered so low, I now find myself being overqualified. But it would be a pretty interesting... I think I have a small chance of getting elected. And if I did get elected, I would have a significant chance of making it better, because it's just incompetence. I think it's incompetence.
Well, good luck on your political aspirations. And if I'm still in San Francisco when the time comes, it'll be fun to choose between you and Benioff and Swisher.
Yeah. What you have to ask yourself is, who's going to work hardest for you and for this city?
Who's going to fight? One of the things that I hate most about political rhetoric is the concept of fighting. Like,
I'm going to fight for the people of San Francisco. Okay.
Future Mayor Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Pleasure to have you here.
Just in fairness, we do need to offer equal time to Mark Benioff or Kara Swisher to come on the podcast and talk about their mayoral aspirations.
Absolutely.
This podcast is a production of the All Turtles Worldwide Media Empire. We recorded this episode in the wonderful Donatello Studios in San Francisco, California. Thanks to Jason for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, send us an email to hello@all-turtles.com. Marie reads every message. Thanks to everyone who made this episode possible, including Jim Metzendorf for editing, Marie McCoy-Thompson for production supervision and editorial management, Chris Plug for his audio expertise, Micah Rivera for our artwork, and Matt Ammerman for our theme music. On behalf of Jessica Collier, Phil Libin, and yours truly, John C. Fuentes, and the rest of the All Turtles team, thanks for listening.